Greatly distressed in the midst of a nasty conflict, I kept hearing voices appealing to truth, mercy, justice, and peace. So I brought truth, mercy, justice, and peace into our room and asked each of them what concerns they had in the midst of conflict.
I am truth. I am like light that is cast so that all may see. In time of conflict, I want to bring forward what really happened, putting it out into the open. Not a watered-down version or a partial recounting. My three colleagues here need me first. Without me, they cannot go forward. When I am found, I set people free.
Sister Truth, I am curious. When I talk to one side, they say, you are with them. And when I talk to the others, they claim you are on their side. You seem to come and go. Is there only one truth?
There is only one truth, but it can be experienced in many ways. I reside with each person, but no one owns me.
If discovering you is so crucial, why are you so hard to find?
I can only appear where the search is genuine. I come forward when each person shares with others what they know of me, and when each one respects the other's voices. If I am paraded before others, I am abused and shattered, and I disappear.
Of these three friends, whom do you fear most?
I fear mercy. In his haste to heal, he covers my light. He forgets that forgiveness is our child, not his alone.
I am mercy. I am the new beginning. I am concerned about people and their relationships. I show acceptance, compassion, and support. I know that no one is perfect. Truth knows that her light brings clarity, but too often blinds, and it burns. She says she sets people free, but what freedom is there without life and relationship? Forgiveness is indeed our child and was birthed to provide healing.
But isn't there a danger that in your rush to accept and support and move on, you actually stop forgiveness from growing?
I do not cover truth's light, but I am steadfast love, and it is my purpose to bring forward the eternal grace of new beginnings.
And who do you fear?
I fear my brother Justice. In his haste to change things and make things right, he forgets that his roots lie in real people with relationships.
I am Justice, and mercy is right. I am concerned with making things right. I look beneath the surface and behind the issues. The roots of most conflicts are inequality, greed, and wrongdoing. I stand with Truth, who uses her light to expose the wrongdoing, and I try to repair the damage, especially for the victims. Mercy is right. We must restore relationships, but in doing so, we must not fail to acknowledge what broke the relationship in the first place.
But, Brother Justice, in conflict, everyone feels they have been wronged, and many are ready to justify their actions, even violent deeds, as doing your work. Isn't that true?
Yes, but they don't understand. What matters most to me is accountability. True and committed relationships have honest accounting and steadfast love. Love without accountability is nothing but words. Love with accountability is changed behavior and action.
And who do you fear?
I fear that my children, Mercy and Peace, see themselves as parents when actually they are the fruit of my labor.
I am Peace, and I agree with all three. I am the child to whom they give birth, but I am also the mother who labors to give them life, as well as being the spouse that accompanies them on the way. I hold the community together.
That's precisely the problem. You see yourself as greater than the rest of us.
Arrogance. You follow us, you do not precede us.
That is true, Brother Justice and Sister Truth. I am more fully expressed after you both, but it is also true that without me, there is no space for truth to be heard. Without me, there is no way to break the cycle of bitterness and violence. You yourself, Justice, cannot be explored without my presence. I am before and after. I myself am the way.
And who do you fear?
Not who, but what and when. I fear manipulation. I fear the manipulation of people using Sister Truth for their own ends. Some ignore her. Some use her as a whip. Some claim to own her. I fear times when Brother Justice is sacrificed for the sake of Brother Mercy, or when those desiring justice so much do not allow mercy to appear.
How would it be possible for you all to meet? What would you need from each other?
Mercy, you must slow down. Give me a chance to emerge.
Shine bright, dear Sister Truth, but please take care not to blind and burn. Remember that each person is a child of God. Each is weak and needs support to grow.
I have found Sister Peace's words reassuring. I need to know that she gives a place for accountability. Remember that when the prophet Micah spoke to us, he said, "Love mercy and do justice." You, Sister Peace, must give time for me to come forward.
Brother Justice, our lips will meet if we recognize that we need each other. I will provide the soil for you to work and bear fruit.
And what is this place called where you all can stand together?
This place is reconciliation.
There's a lot to unpack in what we just heard, which is why I've included a copy in the bulletin. It's worth a second, a third, a fourth read, and many more. Because as you begin to dive into that, you see all these nuances. The reality of reconciliation is peace and mercy, truth and justice must all meet together, held in tension with one another. Too often we want to push one forward to the exclusion of the other. Reconciliation only happens when all are there. Today is World Communion Sunday, when we profess that we share this meal and this table with Christians all over the world, despite differences and divisions. We gather at this table of reconciliation, which reminds us that Jesus lived and died and rose again so that we could be reconciled to God and that we are called to go and be reconciled to each other. These last several weeks, we've been talking about how to be a reconciling community, what it means that God gives us a ministry of reconciliation. It isn't easy. It takes courage. It takes time. Reconciliation happens when truth, mercy, justice, and peace all meet together. It's sad how rare they meet in our world. I went to Northern Ireland in June because one of those rare meetings happened. It wasn't and it isn't perfect, but at different times and places over the last few decades, they met and reconciliation happened in special communities like Corrymeela, and the work of politicians on Good Friday in 1998, and the hearts of warring neighbors. Truth, mercy, justice, and peace met and worked together in balance so reconciliation could appear and live among them. I leave late this evening for South Africa because the meeting place appeared there too. I spoke a few weeks ago about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that was started in South Africa as apartheid ended. Archbishop Desmond Tutu is one of the leaders of the commission. And the commission invited perpetrators and victims of violence done by both sides to testify and to hear testimony in exchange for clemency. They had to listen to the truth. And in that, they found justice and a chance for mercy. It was difficult and painful. Many folks said like some of them didn't deserve their debts to society to be forgiven. How does this honor the victims? They had to be careful and intentionally make space for the truth to be told, for mercy to be extended, but also for justice to be done to repair what caused the problems in the first place. If they just said, let's talk about it and have mercy, but keep apartheid the same, would that lead to reconciliation or peace? They had to also make space for justice to be done, for things to be repaired and restored, so there could be peace and ultimately reconciliation. Peace doesn't mean reconciliation, but you can't have reconciliation without first peace. As chairman for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, Tutu has often been asked how the people of South Africa were able to forgive the atrocities and injustices so many suffered under apartheid. How could they possibly choose mercy? South Africa's journey was quite long and treacherous, and I'm blessed to have the opportunity to hear some of those stories and study that history in person in the coming week. South Africa was a country that institutionalized racism, inequality, and oppression. Not that different from our own history here in the United States. In apartheid South Africa, only white people could vote, earn a high-quality education, expect advancement or opportunity. Not dissimilar to how only Protestant Christians could do so in Northern Ireland to the exclusion of Catholics. There were decades of protest and violence in South Africa. Much blood was shed during their long march to freedom. When at last African leaders like Nelson Mandela were released from prison, it was feared that their transition to democracy would become a bloodbath of revenge and retaliation. That often happens when one side finally has power. Those in power often abuse it. They continue the cycle of violence and injustice done to them on someone else. But miraculously, they chose another future. They chose mercy and reconciliation. You know, sometimes when you watch the news, it seems that there is no end to the creative ways we humans can find to hurt each other, and no end to the reasons that we feel justified in doing so. And that can be a bit depressing. But there is also no end to the human capacity for healing. In each of us, there is an innate ability to create joy out of suffering, to find hope in the most hopeless of situations, and to heal any relationship in need of healing. So I'd like to share with you two simple truths. I call them truths. Others may call them hopes or even foolish fancies. But here goes. There is nothing that cannot be forgiven, and there is no one undeserving of forgiveness. And that's tough. So I can think of a few people, and I don't really want them to be forgiven. I don't want to forgive them. What they did is horrible. It's easy to think like that, right? We can all name some people and situations right now. But the reality is, if we keep on that thought, someone else could have the same thought about us. We never find peace. God forgives all and calls us to do the same. But that is hard. I think it's the hardest thing. But when we can see and understand that we are all bound to one another, whether by birth or by circumstance or simply by our shared humanity as children of God, that we are fellow passengers to the grave, then we will know this to be true. Tutu often said that in South Africa there would have been no future without forgiveness. Our rage, our quest for revenge would have been our destruction, he says. The reality is the quality of human life on our planet is nothing more than the sum total of our daily interactions with one another. Each time we help and each time we harm, we have a dramatic impact on our world. Because we are human, some of our interactions will go wrong, and we will hurt or be hurt. It is the nature of being human. It is unavoidable. But reconciliation is the way we set those interactions right. It is the way to mend the tears in the social fabric. It is the way to stop our human community from unraveling. Does it ever feel like that? That we as a community, as a nation, as a world, we're a sweater and people just keep tugging on that loose thread. And there's less and less and less. And you begin to wonder, is it even going to be a sweater much longer? Reconciliation is the way we begin to stop that unraveling. Now, the path to reconciliation is not an easy one. We will face opposition from those who demand we lean further into justice and punishment. We will face opposition from those who don't want to hear the truth or who believe we aren't sharing the whole truth of their version of it. We will face opposition from those who say forgiveness is undeserved, that peace is unattainable. But we know what the Lord requires. We are to do justice, all while loving mercy and forgiveness. It is our calling and our commandment to be a reconciling community because we know, and God knows, there's no future without reconciliation. We must endeavor to meet together and create a space and a place for truth and mercy, justice and peace to coexist and meet, for that place is reconciliation. And that place is our destiny, our hope, our calling, our commandment, and our gift. We have a taste of it together at this table on this World Communion Sunday when we remember Christ who gave himself for all of us, together, one family of God, so we could eat at this one table together, reconciled, loved, and free. So as we prepare to share this meal together, remembering our reconciliation to each other and to God through the life, death, and resurrection of Christ, let us pray together.